All right, we have Lewis Jackson joining the show, former Purdue point guard. At the time when his Purdue career finished up, he was the winningest point guard of all time. Been part of two Sweet 16 teams. Really decorated college career. Played professionally till 2016. Now as a co-host of the Boiler Buzz with Rafael Davis. And yeah, Lewis, thank you very much for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate you having me on. I'm excited.
Good deal. Good deal. And just off camera, you asked me a question. You said, as a Wisconsin fan, who are you taking, Trévon Hughes or Jordan Taylor? And I think that is a great question, and it's a tough one to answer. I feel like a lot of people will say Trévon, and fun fact, I've done a few one-on-one videos, like where I play basketball against some Division One
Yeah.
players. I tried setting one up with Trévon Hughes. I was close, but never happened. So
Yeah.
for that reason, I'm gonna go with Jordan Taylor. Just kidding. No, Jordan Taylor. I think Jordan it depends more what you need. I think Trévon Hughes might have been more of a bucket where like as a two guard, he can play one and two, and Jordan Taylor's more of a true point guard with
Yeah.
that phenomenal assist to turnover ratio. So I as a point guard, if I need someone to be like a facilitator, I'll go with Jordan. Jordan was a bucket too, but if I need a little scoring, I'm gonna go with Trévon Hughes. So
I,
that's my answer.
I like it. I like it. I would
What's
agree
yours
with
answer?
I I would agree with you. For me, I got the guard Trévon as a freshman, so he was already a seasoned vet. But you
Yeah,
kind of just feel that East Coast. He was a little bit more, I guess you say, a little sexy, more sexy with the ball. But like I said, he was a bucket
he
getter. More,
was.
you put him in the ISO 1-on-1, he's more like that. But Jordan just the physicality, being able to post up, smart point guard, like I said, the assist to turnover ratio, and you got to respect him shooting the ball. For me,
Yeah,
kind of that matchup was a little bit more tougher because Trévon was more my style player. But you can't go wrong with either. But I would go with JT too.
yeah, and yeah, I think Trévon Hughes is one of those guys that was outside of the Wisconsin norm. Like
Agree.
you said, he was. He had the handles. He would put up some ridiculous shots and knock them down. So yeah, Trévon Hughes was not your prototypical Wisconsin point guard, as Jordan Taylor was like the embodiment of exactly what Wisconsin wanted. So yeah, obviously I talked about you have Boiler Buzz with Rafael. Talk about what else you're up to nowadays.
So nowadays, we just actually started. Me and Rayfield, we do Crew Life too. Rayfield started the Crew Life organization. It's a nonprofit. We've been about 3 years. Well, I've been a part of it for about 3 years. He's kind of started a little bit earlier, but we run a lot of camps for kids, underprivileged kids, and other kids as well. Just in the Indiana area, we're going to expand now to Illinois, all through just running camps. We provided Christmas dinners, Thanksgiving dinners. We try to help out with just the underprivileged youth as much as we can. And now this year we'll actually be introducing our AAU program. We'll start out with a sixth, seventh, and eighth grade team. I'm the general manager of that, and then I've just been training kids, doing a lot of just young development back in Indiana and Illinois as well. So just pretty much active in basketball.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And uh, a question I have for you as I coach eighth grade basketball, and what would be your best advice to a smaller point guard who, what would be the biggest thing for them to focus on in their game to find success, at higher levels? What do they really need to focus on in the off season here?
I think the biggest thing is obviously we always talk about leadership. Like when you could be a coach on the floor, that's always going to help a smaller point guard. You want to be obviously take care of the ball, turn it over, but being a true passer, being able to set up your teammates, and then knowing when to take open shots. But as a point guard with a smaller stature, most coaches aren't looking for you to score the ball. It's nice to know if you can, but if you're able to run a system and then being a willing defender. I know a lot of times it sounds cliche. I feel like an old guy now when you hear coaches say like you got to guard, but that sticks out because everybody thinks just because of the Instagram and the highlights, hey, I got to score 30. But smaller point guard that's a willing defender can run my team. That's what's going to stick out to coaches because that's what they're going to want to see doing that next level.
All right, good deal. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, let's get into your basketball journey a little bit, starting with Purdue. Why did you choose Purdue out of high school? Why was it Purdue?
Oh man, it was a roller coaster ride. Illinois recruited me a little bit, like we went back and forth with that, but I knew I didn't want to stay close to home. And actually, I was thinking about going to Gonzaga, and we were out. it was right July, right before Super 64 out in Vegas. I got a phone call from the assistant coach and another point guard committed. So then it opened my commitment back up. And Tyler Zeller, that went to North Carolina, he was on my AAU team. So we were out in Vegas and we were sitting there talking. And at the time, he was like, "Hey, I'm going to Purdue." And he was like, "They got one more scholarship. It's a point guard. Coach Painter didn't miss any of our games that summer." And I was like, that doesn't sound bad. Etuan Moore, Juwan Johnson, Robbie Hummel, and you add me and Tyler. I'm like, that's a Final Four team. And obviously, when North Carolina comes in, at that time, you got to think about going to Carolina. But my mom fell in love with the program. It was 2 hours away. I can say this: I'm a mama's boy, and she missed one game my whole career. So I felt like the experience too. Coach Martin recruited me. It was a perfect storm that she could be able to come to the games, and the team was actually a pretty good team with a good situation for me to walk into and play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you played right away, started 30 games as a freshman. And my question for you is, what was your favorite season at Purdue? You played a lot in all of them. I know you got hurt your sophomore year, but what one did you enjoy the most?
Probably my junior year. My junior year for me was probably just my coming out party. I kind of started to know myself, even though that sophomore year coming back from an injury, you kind of started to expect what to know from the Big Ten. And I felt like I truly belonged. And that was just my coming out party. That was probably, junior year is my fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And what was your proudest accomplishment you've had at Purdue?
That's a tough one. I think obviously leaving, being an all-time winners point guard was my biggest accomplishment. I wish I would have probably redshirted my sophomore year. If I kind of knew what I knew, I would have walked out as an all-time winningest player. But winning championships too, like I think that's the biggest thing. Like being able to compete in the Big Ten at a great time. Me and Raphael just talking like 2010 to probably 2015 could be considerably maybe one of the better eras to come through. So always being in the upper echelon, competing for Big Ten championships, coming to Wisconsin, going to Michigan State, Ohio State, you'll never forget those games on the road.
Good deal. Good deal. And yeah, those teams, I mean, 2009, 2010, 2010, 2011, phenomenal teams. And where do you think those teams rank among Matt Painter's best teams that he's had?
I think we're in the top 5. I think we're always going to be the what-if team just because of the Robbie Hummel injuries, Chris Kramer, my injury included. So we're always going to be that what-if team. But I would probably say, okay, I'm going to take my bias. I'm top 3. Top 3 win hell. Sure. Yeah, the one thing all of the new Matt Painter teams have, and it just happened right after I graduated, he started to get 7-footers in. We never had a 7-footer in my ear.
Yeah. Yeah, and hypothetically, if Robbie Hummel doesn't go down, how far are you guys going in that what-if world?
We truly believe in that 2009, 2010 year. That's my sophomore year. That was Final Four in Indianapolis. Like, we truly believe we were going to the Final Four. So I think if Robbie Hummel doesn't get injured one of those 2 years, we touch a Final Four at least one time.
I agree. And can you imagine how nutty Indy would have been if you guys got to play there with that team?
It's like the spoiler for it's like the bittersweet moment. Like, you knew it would have been crazy, and then Butler makes it. So the experience and you get to see it, but like it was already hyped up. Like, it's in our backyard. Oh man, we just the first time Purdue gets to a Final Four, like our team is cemented in history, but we would literally be guys if we would have made it to the Final Four that year.
Yeah, and at that team's peak, before Hummel goes down, how do you guys match up with this year's team? Who wins? Who wins more out of 10?
I give it to us. I mean, this team, I think they have a little bit more depth. They have a little bit, and obviously Zach Edey's just Zach Edey, like 7'3", 300 pounds. I think Juwan can bring him outside a little bit, but we can't deny the fact that Zach Edey is going to make us have a tough night. And Braden Smith has obviously involved this year.
Yeah.
It's my guy. I would love, just the competitor in me, I would love to match up with him just to see. But I think just because of what Rob and Etuan are allowed to do on that wing, and we were kind of one of the first small ball teams, I think we win. I think we win the series, but I think it's definitely a close series.
And I know he played in the TBT teams in recent memory. Have you ever matched up with Braden Smith? Have you ever gone back to Purdue and got to play in some pickup games with them, or no?
No, we haven't played yet. We actually this last summer we just ran a camp together, so it's just more of a kind of like maybe one day we might get in the gym and play. But now I'm getting a little older, and he's getting into his prime, so I don't know if we're going to ever see that matchup. Maybe this summer, but I might just be a fan and cheer him on from here on out.
Sure, sure. And yeah, I mean, gosh, I love the Big Ten, like the teams in the Big Ten throughout your career. A lot of fond memories growing up watching them. But who are your some favorite matchups going head to head with in your career at Purdue?
Favorite matchups, Jordan, obviously Jordan Taylor. Like that was just you just knew every night. Like he was dominating. You just knew what he brought for Wisconsin. I knew I never could take a night off against him. Kalen Lucas was that guy. Like
Yeah, he
before he tore
was.
Achilles, like I just remember my freshman year, I was sick. I had the flu the first time we were going to play him, and I was coughing up a lung. And Coach Parent looked at me and said, "Hey, you don't got time to cough. Kalen Lucas coming through that tunnel." So you knew you always had to be ready for him. Taylor Battle. I think Taylor Battle, if he's in this era, he's probably in the NBA. You knew Taylor Battle. As soon as he stepped into the arena, he's shooting the ball. So he always made me
Yeah.
go. And you got to tip your hat to Aaron Craft. Like he was just a pest. Like sometimes I'm like, just get away from me. But the competitive, like, you love to compete against that.
Yeah, okay. Answer me this, because I had Jordan Taylor on the show, and he looks at Aaron Craft as just like a good Big Ten defender. I look at him as a phenomenal college basketball defender, like one of the best ones in the last 10, 12, 15 years. What do you look at, or how do you look at Aaron Craft as a defender?
He's phenomenal. I get what Jordan's saying because and you can't help who you play with. You can only, you take advantage. But when you look at the teams, when you got Dallas Lauderdale, William Buford, David Lighty, John Diebler, everybody's 6'6" and up back there. So you could just send you to the wolves and speed you up. But
Yeah.
he's there. And like when you really realize just he was smart, super competitive. Like he just was, I think to me, he was a better Greg Paulus. I think that's the best. But the way he competed and just he laid it on the line every night. So I'm with you, like just a pesky defender. But I get JT. If I get you on an island, I feel like I got a good matchup. But you gotta respect him.
Yeah. Just the impactful plays he would make on a consistent basis. Like every single game, he would make just he would take a charge, you get a ridiculous steal. Like he just would create chaos that I don't really ever see. Like I can't think of other guys who would just consistently make these wild defensive plays. Like you can expect that from on a nightly basis. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed Aaron Craft.
I would call him a winner. Like he's just a winner. Like you said, like offensively, he never was just the craziest offensively, but like I said, like just defensively, it's always somehow just went his way. He made the winning plays on defense that was very impactful.
Yeah. And I saw on the Boiler Buzz, you talking about that clip, the Joe Krabbenhoft elbow. I remember that. I was 10 years old at the time. I still remember watching that with my dad. My question for you is, did he ever apologize to you for that play?
He actually did. That's the one thing
Okay.
I didn't get to say, and I'm glad somebody asked me. But he actually sent me a message on Facebook and was like, "Hey man, like I wasn't intentionally trying to hurt you." And in the moment, like I nothing but respect for him. Like, hey, we're competing. I still think the shot, the elbow was a little high, but sent the
No
message.
doubt.
But he definitely apologized. And as competitors, and for me being a point guard, you got to know that's part of the game.
Well, at least back then it was a part of the game.
True,
Krabbenhoft would have
true.
been out of the game in a second if he did that today.
Oh, quick.
Yeah, and for people who didn't see the clip, I believe you played a few minutes after that. After you got a concussion, you were back in the game.
Yeah. I always joke with the training staff. Love Jeff Stein, but I was like, man, if I knew what I knew now, I probably could have sued Purdue, and I should have never been back in that game. But the Kohl Center at one point in the second half, it was so loud. I missed the layup, and literally all I could do was see stars, and that's when I was like, yeah, there's something wrong with me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're saying how you feel like you're getting a little bit older. That's one of those classic, stories where you can be like, yeah, back in my day, I got elbowed and played through a concussion, while these kids are stubbing their toe
I preach
and getting
that to
helped
my
off the
kids
court.
all the time now. Like toughness,
Yeah.
like man, take the elbow, you'll be okay.
Yeah. So, and then Joe Krabbenhoft 2 years ago was involved in a bit of a scrap with Juwan Howard, where, how Krabbenhoft was just on the receiving end of an overhand strike with a few people in between. Yeah. But if you put Juwan Howard and Joe Krabbenhoft in a cage, who's winning that fight?
Ooh, that's a tough question. You got Juwan out of Chicago. You got his toughness. Joe's a big guy, man. I don't know how I want to answer that, man. You sending me to the wolves, yeah. 2 years ago, I'll probably get after Joe. Joe in better shape than Juwan right now. So I'm gonna get after Joe right now.
Sure, sure. That a guy who I really like, who I thought had a similar game to Joe Krabbenhoft, is Mike Bruesewitz. Which
Mike.
guy do you think was better for Wisconsin, Krabbenhoft or Bruesewitz?
Ooh. Mike hit some big shots against us, but Joe, a lot of people don't know. Was he top 25 in the country? Joe was pretty.
He was a
He
big
was pretty
recruit.
big time. He was a big
Yeah.
recruit because I didn't know Joe was from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah.
And that was the irony when I played in the NBA G League. The first team I played for was Sioux Falls Heat for
All
Miami,
right.
and you go into the arena and they got Joe's statue, like they got his accomplishments. I'm like, I mean, that's the guy that elbowed me right there. So, and I got to read up on him. So I mean, for me, I got to see the older version of Joe, and I think Mike was maybe only a sophomore by the time I graduated. He hit a big three on us at Mackey, but I would take Joe. I would take Joe.
All right. I feel bad because obviously Juwan Howard had that heart issue right now. But let's just say 2 years ago, no heart issue. Who are
Yeah.
you taking? You're saying you're taking Joe then? Is that was that the answer?
That's tough, man. Cause Joe got weight on him, man. I know Juwan tough. I know the Fast Five. I feel like all my Chicago boys is gonna get at me. I got Joe by a nice. I got Joe edging it. It's a good matchup. I got Joe edging it.
Good deal. So yeah. Do you have any good Matt Painter stories, that come to mind when I ask this? But any good Matt Painter stories you could give me?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, I always like to joke and say like we were the baby boy. It was like we were his guinea pigs. Like I always say now, like we were the first group of just talented players in the Big Ten he had in a sense. So now when you go to practice, you just see everything changing, how he's adapting. But I mean, probably just it was something about him. Like Coach Painter had a good persona of being able to cut off being a cool coach and when we're going to work. So my senior year when me and Rob were hurt and we used to sit out practice, so like sometimes Coach Painter would just literally walk by, wouldn't say nothing to us. Me and Rob might have just been laughing and giggling. All of a sudden, Coach Painter just walked by and we would shut up like two little kids. Like Dad just came in the room and give a look. He'd just walk off and you'd be like, yo, what is this feeling right here? And then he might just say something slick and probably just a positive story, which all of them positive. One thing he told me, we were getting ready to run the mile. This is going into my sophomore year. We're going to run the mile. Guards have to run the mile in 5:25. And we're walking over there and I'm complaining. Like I'm sitting, I'm like, Coach, why the hell do we gotta run the mile? Like, what is this doing? And he tapped me and said, hey, Lou, sometimes you gotta do things you don't want to do to do the things you want to do. So that's always stuck with me in life. Like you don't want to run this mile, but you want to play on the court. So you gotta do this. And yeah, it's a lot of good stories. He's a one-liner guy. Like he might just throw a joke here out of nowhere. You like, yo, Coach, what is that? But it's always his.
No, that's great. That's great. I'm gonna remember that. That's good stuff. And then, for you, how have you grown the most since your time at Purdue as just a person?
Man, just the experience at Purdue, being able now to everything I've got to do, give back to the kids. Like Purdue, just a college experience. Like I think obviously when you're a college athlete, sometimes we take it for granted or we feel sorry that we don't get to experience the normal student life and get to party and do some of the little cool things. But it's been able to give me a lot of life experience and talking to the kids, being able to give knowledge back. And I just feel like it's been able to help me inspire a lot of kids, especially from my city. A lot of kids don't play Division I basketball or high level, so it's been able to allow me to give all those experiences back. And now I laugh, like you said, like even hearing you say you were 10 watching me play, all of those experiences now, like I love it because I get to give the youth all of my stories and really see how going to college and all those experiences benefit me. Now I get to help the youth out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not trying to make you feel old or anything. I was tender in your freshman year.
No,
tender
I like.
your freshman year.
I mean, I like it. Like one day you got to get old. You know what I mean? Like you got to get old. I'm still cool enough. Like I tell my kids, like you don't got to call me Mr. Jackson. Like call me Coach Lou Jack. I'm still pretty cool right now.
So yeah, you played professionally until 2016. What went into the decision to hang up the shoes as a pro athlete?
I just started to wonder what was next. Like, it was fun. Like, it was fun to play, but you start to wonder, like, you know what I mean? Like, the NBA, after a while, like, you know, like, hey, the NBA is not going to be there. Then you start really asking yourself, like, I didn't want to go overseas. I started missing family events. I wanted to be around family, wanted to be closer to home. Then I started also thinking as well, just like, I would like to coach. And me and Coach Parent actually had a conversation one time. And he was like, you should come back and get your master's degree, which I did. And he was just like, it can help you get in sooner than later. A lot of guys, a lot of athletes struggle with just that ego part of like, I gotta retire, and it's not a bad thing. And it was able for me to be like, this is my second transition in life, and I would rather get started earlier than later. Now, granted, it took me a fight with myself to really make that decision, but it was like it's time to move on and give back.